Lagos. Good day, Nigeria. I'm Lukman Oyewole Lawal. I was born, I'm getting older, 42 years ago. From a very humble beginning. Lost my father at 7. To the glory of God, today a chartered accountant, a governance and social researcher, a concerned Nigerian youth. I believe so much in making this place better than we met it, and that took me on a voyage 7 years ago. And you agree with me that everywhere in the world today, all spheres of our lives is tightly connected with the business of government and governance. 7 years ago, I took the first, step of participating actively and positively in governance. I took up governance and social researching. The society is made up of a tripod of the government, the firms, and the household. At every point in time, we must be able to feel the impact of whatever the government is doing as laws. Those laws will give birth to policies. Those policies will give birth to programs. Those programs will give birth to projects. And embedded in projects are daily activities of governance. So we must be able to feel the impact of government and the entire governance apparatus and machinery in each sphere of our life. At the household level, at the firm's level, and within government itself. As enshrined in section 14(2)(b), that the primary purpose of government is security and welfare of the people. I believe that we desire so much more, and we deserve so much more as a people. Our story is such a pathetic one. You would agree with me that in terms of age, Nigeria is quite young. 1962 is about 58 years ago. The United States of this world, the United Kingdom, have evolved over 200 years, going to 300 years. So if you look at it in that context, you would say, well, we are quite young. However, we have been birthed. Nigeria was birthed at a period of industrial information technology revolution, So the times with which we were birthed as a nation and the kind of spontaneous development that the whole world witnessed in industrial revolution, in information communication technology revolution, is such that we are lagging behind. Compare us to the developing economies that were at the same pedestal: Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Turkey. All those were countries that in the early 80s, per capita, and GDP was higher than theirs. However, they were doing things that they are supposed to do. A system is inputs plus processes equals to outputs. And you find the human component, a willing human component, driving that system. And so, because of where we are now, I'm going to take you through some issues that would tell us, every one of us, to see how we are faring as a nation. It is not about anybody calling anybody a bad name. It's not about us, the younger generation, saying the older generation have failed. But the scorecard, is such that each and every one of us, whether you are belonging to the old generation, or you are in middle age, or you are a younger generation, you will see for yourself, whether we have done well as a people, as a country, and whether we are where we're supposed to be, whether we all are happy. That a common perception survey amongst young people below 25, almost all of them want to leave this country. When you have people that don't believe that there is any future in quotes, plausible for their own future remaining here, even though the Libya saga is still very fresh in our memories. It's a shame that we have allowed things to degenerate so badly that the younger generation do not believe that there is any worthy project called Project Nigeria, that there is any reason for them to remain within our shores and contribute their quota to the development of this polity. And I would like to make us see one or two issues that anyone anywhere in the world can use to measure impact of government and governance anywhere in the world. The first issue I'm going to highlight is unemployment. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Today in Nigeria, by the National Bureau of Statistics, unemployment is at about 20%. That is, if we say we are 180 million, that's about 36 million people, either unemployed or underemployed. In the same country, we churn out graduates every year, churned out annually, 2 to 3 million young persons coming into the labor market on a yearly basis. So if you find anywhere in the world where over time government and governance has left unemployment at this high a figure, it is alarming. The next sector I'm going to look at is education. Today in our clime, as of 2014, the Executive Secretary of Universal Basic Education Commission, Malam Ibrahim also, he came to the whole world and said 50% of teachers in the north can neither read nor write. That is teachers.
That is alarming, sir.
So on our NGO platform across the federation, our own survey says nationally about 40% of our teachers in Nigeria can not read and write. So if you have anywhere in the world, any polity that the system in place is such that people went through primary 6 of primary education, 6 years of secondary education, at least 3 years of college of education, that's about 15 years. And that same person was subjected through a recruitment process that interviewed, that assessed in written tests, oral interview and all the rest of them, and then those systems absorb those people in as teachers, and they don't have the basic requirement, which is ability to read and write. So that means whatever system prepared them is already a failed system. That's the second sector. The third sector is healthcare. Now, this is a very critical sector anywhere in the world. What do we have here? Dearth of functional equipment. The aesthetic environment is not there. On our own survey, 90% of our hospitals have no functional equipment nationally. So that is why for every and any ailment, we are quick to go to the Dubai and the Indias of this world. And the forex pressure on medical tourism is alarming. And our doctors are living en masse. After we have trained them, they cannot cope with our dysfunctional system, and then the
brain drain.
Yeah. Now, the next sector we are going to look at is cost of government itself. How have we been doing or faring in terms of our cost of government? As we speak, over the last 15 years, we have carried out several trend analyses. We have been speaking about this for years. Our budget is sacrosanct according to Section 81 of the Constitution. It must give authorization for the release of funds. It must give direction on how funds are expended. It must give control on public funds. Year in, year out, we expend over 75% on recurrent expenditure. Salaries, allowances, servicing of debts. Every year, successive governments have not been able to come out of this quagmire. And so it will take us to the next thing. The next thing is that huge infrastructure deficit. As a result of that budgeting pattern, huge infrastructure deficit. Huge infrastructure deficit across, whether it is power, whether it is housing, whether it is transport, power, housing, transport, and several other sectors. We don't have infrastructure. The last survey by one of the international organizations says that we need about $65 billion to fix our infrastructure deficit. And that is the kind of revenue that maybe we will earn in 10 years.
So you can say because of the irregular cost of governance.
Yes,
irregular governance.
The bad budgeting pattern.
As a result of bad legislation and bad economic dynamics, or what?
Sincerely, I would be taking us through some of the solutions that we have evolved over the years.
Because this is quite alarming, and this is too
it
bad
is.
for a country
this
that
area
is
now,
5 years old.
If I am government, every society is a tripod. The societal tripod. Is government, firms, and household. These are the tripod in any society. Everything that the government is doing at this level, in laws, in policies, in programs, in projects, must be felt by members of the firms and members of the household at every point in time. This is the tripod. At every point in time, we must activate what is called circular flow of income, like this. Circular flow of income. When government is spending money on these laws, policies, programs, and projects, members of the firms, who are the industry players, the manufacturers, the service renderers, are benefiting in infrastructure, in power, in roads. They are able to create wealth. They are going to employ members of the household. They are the ones that will work in the firms. There is no company that can thrive on its own without members of the household working. When the members of the firms, the members of the household work here, the firms are going to make profit. The firms will pay back taxes to the government here. From firms to the government, taxes are paid. The members of the household too, like you do in Lagos, you pay your taxes back to the government, state government too. Members of the firms, all the profits that they used to run, they make it for members of the household. Whenever you buy anything, there is a markup on it. And so it is the business of government being on the driver's seat to ensure meaningful laws, meaningful policies, meaningful programs, and meaningful projects that will impact positively on members of the household to create wealth, employment, jobs.
You mean the firms?
The firms, members of the firms. And then also directly on the members of the household. They will ensure that they have good health care, good education, good housing, good, affordable energy, decent work environment, everything that for instance, the sustainable development goals are talking about. And in 2014, we carried out a governance and society situational audit to see whether we are feeling this impact. And the score were very gory, very, appalling. As I'm talking to you now, we have highlighted unemployment at over 20%.
Yes.
We have highlighted education at the lowest ebb. We have highlighted healthcare at the lowest ebb. We have highlighted housing, 16 million housing deficits. Power generation, we're still talking about 5,000 megawatts year in, year out. If I take you through the sustainable development goals, we transited in 2015 from Millennium Development Goals to Sustainable Development Goals. Nigeria, we can score ourselves by ourselves. Number 1 Sustainable Development Goal says end poverty. The number 2 one says zero hunger. The third one says good health and well-being. The fourth one is saying qualitative education. The fifth one is saying gender equality. The sixth one is saying clean water and sanitation. Number 7 is saying affordable and clean energy. Number 8 is saying decent work and economic growth. Number 9 is saying industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Number 10 is reduced inequalities. one of the things we have highlighted over time is gross inequality of qualitative education. And we have inequalities in housing, in healthcare, in several other areas. Number 11 is saying sustainable cities and communities. Number 12 is saying responsible consumption and production. Number 13 SDG is saying climate action. We all know what climate change portends for the whole world.
Yes, sir.
Number 14 is saying life below water. How we are going to be friendly with the aquatic natural resource. Number 15 is saying life on land. Number 16 is saying justice, peace, and building institutions. And the 17th one is saying partnership for all these highlighted goals. I'm bringing this to the fore because by 2030, the whole world, United Nations countries are going to be assessed based on these 16 Sustainable Development Goals. The 17th goal is saying partnership for all the goals. I'm bringing this to the fore because this is a global phenomenon. United Nations are saying we must improve the quality of life and living. Nobody must be left behind as a government, as a people. And so we have set these targets. Between 2000 and 2015, we set Millennium Development Goals.
Yes, sir.
Now, between 2015 and 2030, we have set Sustainable Development Goals. I have highlighted some of them. Starting from number 1, which is to end poverty. With the kind of laws, policies, programs, and projects we are having in Nigeria today, are we making efforts to end poverty?
I don't think so, sir.
Are we making efforts with insecurity on the farmlands across our land on zero hunger? Because it's a threat to our agriculture.
Yes, sir.
Good health and well-being is the third SDG. What areas of intervention are we bringing forth? How much are we spending on healthcare? Because the other week, the Minister for Health, as he stands today, was clamoring for more funds for health as a ministry. Qualitative education.
We are in trouble in that area, sir.
We are in total comatose. Because today, our youth, it's about 4 out of 10 that are employable, that we are bringing out through our educational institutions. We need serious mandate review across our educational level, whether it is primary education, secondary education, and tertiary education. What are the mandates of Universal Basic Education Commission? It must,
yes,
as an agency, be able to tell us its scorecard over the last 14-15 years.
But you're also looking at the states and what they need to do.
Well, the way the federation runs, it is the center that's supposed to, pilot everybody together. Because at the end of the day, they will not measure the impacts of Lagos State alone. They will say nationally, Nigeria. Take a national average. So we must sit down as a people. The other day I heard that the federal government are saying we want to declare an emergency in education in April. This is a model we have developed for over 2 years on the educational sector, looking at the entire operational framework as they stand today, looking at the teaching methods and processes in place, looking at how anybody that leaves our primary and secondary school would have that basic ability to read and write. upon which the tertiary education is supposed to blossom. Today, our educational level, our educational institution is on reading to understand. The world has moved on learning to be able to apply what you have learned, to be able to analyze what you have learned, to be able to create new things. If you have learned and you cannot analyze what you have learned, you cannot apply what you have learned within your socio-economic space, you cannot evaluate what is happening and then create new things that will take us from where we are to where we are supposed to be, then it is a failed educational system. The results are everywhere. Our teachers cannot read and write. The Kaduna saga is still there. It is a national embarrassment. I am telling you that if you do a survey across all the 36 states of the federation, you'll be shocked.
When I started in Kwara many years ago under Commissioner Bolaji Abdullahi, there was tests for a lot of teachers.
You know,
it's 65% failed.
It's a systemic problem.
Yep.
Any system that is not giving the desired output must be overhauled. You must put in the right inputs. You must ensure the right processes so that the output would take us to where we're supposed to be. I've talked about qualitative education, gender equality is there, clean water and sanitation, we know where we are as a people. The seventh is affordable and renewable energy. The eighth goal is decent work and economic growth. The ninth is decent work and economic growth. We all know where we are on unemployment. Unemployment and underemployment is alarming.
36 million.
Over 36 million people. Yeah. 1 in 3 youth is unemployed. Others are not employable. 2 to 3 million graduates are joining them every year.
But did you also notice that we have the lotto addicts, the drug addicts, the cigarette addicts, the football addicts?
It is a shame that today 40% of our youth population are in substance and drugs abuse. And we looked at the causes of this, largely because of idleness. They don't have anything to do. Largely because of the society, the eroded value system. Unfortunately, some of our musicians too, are promoting drug abuse. It's a shame.
Sir, are you also aware of the Libyan saga in a lot of young people?
Yeah, because they don't have any.
And the Yahoo saga, Yahoo.
Yeah, it's a shame because they don't have. I've interviewed a lot of young persons.
Okay, sir.
And what they tell me, I have them on video. Some of them tell me, look, we don't have any useful thing to do. And so any available thing, whether it is cultism, whether it is violence, whether it is lotto addiction, whether it is drug addiction, it's easy to prey on us. Because the system has made them perpetually idle. So it's a systemic failure. Now, we look at industry, innovation and infrastructure. All our manufacturing sectors are moribund. We need serious thinking people to occupy our government echelons, whether it is at the National Assembly, whether it is at the executive level. Now, we have another model here that is talking about employment and employability in this country. What this model is saying is that this population is going to double by 2050. This population is growing at 2.5% annually. 2.5% population growth rate annually. By 2050, at 2.5%, 180 million is going to be 360 million. At 180 million, we have 20% unemployment and underemployment. We have failure of educational system, failure of healthcare system, failure of power, failure of industry. So at 360 million, what are we going to do? Are we not going back to slave trade? So we have looked at how our manufacturers can get stimulus packages. A lot of the government intervention efforts on reducing unemployment are not yielding the right results. Let us have a stimulus package for members of chambers of commerce and industry, for our high-flying manufacturers that have, against all odds, survived the Nigerian harsh economic terrain. Let us give them buffers. Those buffers will take them into expansion of their product line, will take them into expansion of their market, areas, and they will be able to take a lot of young persons off our streets, giving direct employment, within the production area. For every single direct employment you can create in production line, you are going to create 8 indirect jobs in banking, in insurance, in warehousing, in transport, in logistics, in law, in so many other areas, advertising, communication. So the way to go is empowering the people and players in the manufacturing sector in this country. They are the only ones that can take us out of the unemployment figure that we have. The unemployment today is in the region of 20%. And the population is growing at 2.5% annually.
So are
2 to 3 million young graduates are churned out. How are we going to fix them? Drugs and substance abuse, 40%. This is figure released by NDLEA. 4 out of 10 young persons are in drugs and substance abuse, mostly caused by idleness. They don't have, quality work that they are doing. I am telling you that 80% of our problems as a people will be solved at the governance echelon, whether in the National Assembly or in the executive. This is government. The 3 arms: legislature, executive, judiciary. Now, I want us to understand something about these 2 arms. These 2 arms. These are the 2 areas that are mostly taking us back. I agree that the judiciary is also equally important. It is the last hope of the common man. So we need to put the right inputs plus processes into government so that we can have the type of laws at this place. This is legislature now. Legislature is supposed to make laws. The foundational instrumentality of governance and government is lawmaking. The next portion of the legislature is on appropriation. How much do we spend? On what? I've told you about the model for the creation of the impact assessment unit. This model looks at the business of appropriation. Appropriation means that how are we going to deploy the funds that have accrued to government on the horizontal distribution line. We have 2 types of funds distribution. We have the vertical line, like this. At this line, the federal government is here, up here. Federal government. They are getting 52.68% of what accrues to the federation. The states, all the states are in the middle here. They are getting 26.72%. Okay? After we have removed derivation, which is 30% for the oil producing areas. The local government is here. They are getting 20.6%. This is the vertical distribution of funds that we have in the Nigerian Federation. Now, somebody is called the federal government. He is here, sitting up here. He occupies the whole space across the entire country. And so it does what is called horizontal distribution. Horizontal. Federal government, after staying here vertically, it comes here again. Federal government. Horizontal. 36 states. All the 36 states. and Federal Capital Territory. This is the space of the federal government. So horizontally, he spends all the money he earns here across all the states, across all the local governments, across every nook and cranny, through the ministries, departments, and agencies. Today, they say we have 434 agencies in Nigeria. 434. MDAs. 434. Some of these MDAs were created 25 years ago, some 30 years ago. A lot of them have outlived their relevance. They came up at that time because of the problems, because governance and government is about problem solving. It's about improving socio-economic well-being. So they came up when they were needed, and because a lot of them have the force of law, they are still in existence. But their mandates have been outlived. They are not relevant and they are not adding any value to the Nigerian state again. So this model is saying we have to do a mandate review of all ministries, departments, and agencies. If there are any of them that are not adding any value to the present realities of our time in 2018, we are going to prune them down. We are going to align them with functional ones. We are going to merge them with functional ones. And then we are going to reduce our MDAs from this 434 to about 200. If we can do that, we will reduce cost of government. We will reduce and redress the recurrent expenditure that has remained at 75 to 80% over 15 years. After MDA mandate review, we will look at their processes. What processes are in place? Are they giving us the right results? We will redesign the processes to give us the right results. That is one leg of this model. The second leg of this model takes me back to appropriation. It does impact assessments of laws, of policies, of projects and programs. If there are any area that we are spending our money that we cannot measure direct impact on members of the household, you know, we said that, you know, the tripod of the society is government, firms, and household. So any amount of money of government that the person here, household, from government, the household is not feeling the impact. It is a failed program, it is a failed policy, it is a failed project. Such programs and projects must be expunged from our vote of expenditure. There is no reason why we should be appropriating money into policies, programs, and projects that members of the household here, each, you know, Nigerian at the lowest level, cannot feel the impact. And so the model is saying impact assessment of laws, policies, programs, and projects at the household. So the process of appropriation must be strengthened. By the time we create this agency, the first leg is MDA's mandate review to prune it down, to reduce costs. The second leg this model is standing on is to do impact assessment, so that we will be putting our money where we will feel impact. And the third area is effective communication. Telling everybody, the global village, these are the things Nigerian government is doing on A, on B, on C. When we have to do like a concession program or toll our roads, the people already know. They are connecting because you are informing them on a daily basis the positive impact, you know, of your government, of the developments you are making. And so when you are asking them to pay more, they already know. They are ready to pay more. They are ready to key into your development efforts. So this is a model that can rewrite our story, in addition to the education model that I have shown earlier. This will rewrite our story on education. This one is for the creation of an impact assessment unit that will look at all, you know, areas across MDAs, across appropriation and effective communication. The reason why I said the legislation and executive are very important is because their functions are intertwined. When the legislators are going to make laws, the executive send bills to them. When they want to make the budget, this is function of appropriation. The executive are the ones that will prepare the budget and also send it to them. The third function is oversight. Anything that the executive is doing, the legislature must have oversight function on it, on the executive, to say, are you spending the money appropriated here the right way? Are you implementing the laws we made here the right way? Because the executive are in charge of implementing the laws, the policies, the programs, the projects, and activities of government. The fourth function here is function of adjudication. The legislature are empowered by the Constitution to set up inquiries, to make peace when there are issues. The fifth function is representation, because they are representing a particular constituency, the people that have given them the mandate to say you can sit at the National Assembly. But I am telling us today that it is a shame that some people are going to the National Assembly with the wrong conversations. Somebody in the National Assembly to sponsor a bill for the prohibition of the killing of donkeys. Will that bring income to members of the household here?
No, sir.
Will that bring improvement in socio-economic well-being to the members of the household?
No, sir.
Or members of the firms?
No, sir. I don't think so.
Or the government itself? Have any business in our National Assembly coming to discuss petty matters, prohibition of the killing of donkeys? The other day, another person was sponsoring a bill on shea butter. Ori, shea butter has some benefits, so Nigeria should create a Nigerian Institute of Shea Butter.
What kind of a legislation is that, sir?
I don't know.
That's very humiliating.
When we are clamoring that we must reduce our recurrent expenditure pattern from the perpetual 75 to 80%. Recurrent, this is our budget in Nigeria. 2 lines. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Capital expenditure, recurrent expenditure. Now, the percentage over time is recurrent takes between 75 to 80%, and capital takes between 20 to 25%.
Why?
Now, anywhere in the world in public finance, this is what is called discretionary spending. This is your capital. Is your discretionary spending. It is where development must come from. This is your non-discretionary spending. Whether you like it or not, you must spend this money on admin, on debt charges, and all the rest of them. So it is a thinking government that must be striving hard every day to reduce the recurrent expenditure that we have here. Any matter that will be increasing this recurrent expenditure must be avoided. And even if it's going to be a loan to increase capital, it must be spent on strictly infrastructure. But today, about 30% of our revenue, of government revenue, goes to debt servicing. Whether we like it or not, when we make 100 naira, 30 naira is going to debt servicing through what is called ISPO, irrevocable standing payment order. So they have already taken a lot of loans, local debts, foreign debts, about 20 trillion that we must be paying over time.
This is killing, sir.
So my appeal is that Nigerians, especially those of us that are educated and enlightened, we must be very, very serious about governance and government. And how do I mean?
What do you mean, sir?
80% of our problems that we have highlighted can be solved. Is this not a good hope?
It seems so.
This is a very bright hope. If 80% of our problems can be solved. However, they can only be solved at the governance echelon. If they can be solved at the governance echelon, how have we been participating in the process? Our participation in the process of government. How has it been? Do we collect the 1,000 naira, usual 1,000 naira? The bread, the rice, the beans, the indomie, Ankara, and expect a different result? I am using this opportunity to beg every young person, every enlightened person, every educated person that has the love of our country, that has the love of his or her children. We've been to other parts of the world. There is no place like home. There is something called heritage. This is our own land. You will not get fulfillment abroad, at some point, because it's not your country. They will remind you. But this is your own place. And we have all these problems that we have highlighted on education, on healthcare, on employment, housing, transport, energy, manufacturing, all those problems. And we are saying that research, if from 3310 phone in 2003, 2004, we have graduated the kind of phones we are using to Android smartphones that we can see ourselves. That is telling you the power of research and development. Because other parts of the world, they are not sleeping. They are serious-minded people. And that is why the other day that Donald Trump was calling us names, I was laughing. Because we need to start thinking. If 80% of our problems can be solved at the governance echelon, then we must participate positively and actively in who occupies the spaces of executive. Those are the two areas that we can elect people, and the legislature. The judiciary, they have a process that puts them there. So at the executive level, who do we put there? At the legislature level, and this level is very important, the House of Reps.
It's very delicate as well.
And the Senate. Is it supposed to be a place where when two people are fighting, then the whole Senate is in chaos? Anybody that brings a developmental bill, they will thrash it out because the person is not in their camp. The kind of conversations that will improve the quality of life of Nigerians are not discussed regularly at these two houses, the Senate and the House of Reps. And if this trend continues, the poverty rate that we have today, that over 100 million people are living below the poverty line, will continue to increase. The failures of healthcare will continue to increase, of education, of decent work and economic growth, of industry, innovation and infrastructure, of all spheres of our lives. Because a system, like I said again, I've said it before, is inputs plus processes equals to outputs. This is what a system is. A system is inputs plus processes equals to output. The inputs we must have in the executive must be people with capacity. The inputs we must have in the legislature must be people with capacity, with character, with integrity, with the energy level that can take us out of all these problems. We don't need people that will be dancing there. We don't need people that will be going there to show off their cars. We don't need people that will be throwing away bills because they are not in the same camp with the person sponsoring the bill. The other day, our senator representing Lagos Central, Senator Mrs. Remi Tinubu, brought to the floor a bill for special status for Lagos State. Very important bill to us, because Lagos houses virtually everybody, every household in Nigeria, and there is huge pressure on the infrastructure of Lagos. And so such a germane bill would have, in a saner clime, passed first reading, second reading and third reading. But because they have issues, they threw out the bill even on the first reading. I am standing today, I'm calling on all of us. I am a chartered accountant, I'm a governance and social researcher. I am not a political jobber. I have full-time employment, but I'm willing to quit my employment to go to that Senate come 2019 to advocate, make laws, appropriate, do oversight functions, do things that can take us out of where we are now, and ultimately change the conversation. We have to change the conversation. So the solutions. Number one is for all of us to participate. Get your PVCs. Participate. Your PVC. Get your PVC. Number two, look at the right characters. Tell your aged parents, your illiterate brothers and sisters, because anybody that has school sat, minimum of school sat, is not an illiterate. You can tell the people that know that these people have messed up our present now. They want to mess up the future of our own children and generation yet unborn. And we are sitting down, collecting Indomie, collecting 1,000, collecting Ankara. We must do the right thing. We must participate actively and positively, and we must change the conversation at the National Assembly. We must change the conversation at the National Assembly and in government. The third one, we must use our thumbs. Use our thumbs to change our destinies. We must use our thumb to change our destinies. I am Lukman Oyewole Lawal. I am offering myself for the Senate of Lagos Central District. I'm coming out from Surulere. Lagos Central District extends to Lagos Island, Lagos Mainland, Surulere, Apapa and Etiosa local government. If you desire to change your destiny, if you desire to leave this place better than you met it, I welcome you on board. I beg you, and I can tell you that this is not for any self-aggrandizement. This is not for any affluence. Because I've been orphaned at 7, and where I am today to the glory of God. I've been in the struggle for 7 years. I've contested 3 times and I've stepped down according to the party dictates. I'm a member of APC. But today, I am compelled to say, I have to go the old hog again. These are well-researched solution models that can change our story as a country, as a people. This is a model on financial re-engineering. This will redress the budgeting pattern from perpetual 75% on recurrent expenditure to below 50% in 3 years. This is another model unemployment and employability. How can we give stimulus packages to our manufacturers to help take our young persons out of unemployment? This model can solve the problem. This one is on the creation of impact assessment unit. The MDAs that we have, ministries, departments and agencies, have they outlived their mandates or they are relevant? Are the processes in place, are they meeting what they are supposed to meet? Positive impact on members of the household. Can we feel impacts on everybody in terms of policies, programs and projects? Are we getting effective communication from government on how they are spending on our projects, policies, on our spheres of life? This model will also solve a lot of problems. The last one is a model on education. The federal government is declaring emergency on education in April. I don't know what they want to do differently, but this is a model that can solve that problem, that can rejig the operational framework at the universal basic education level, which is primary and secondary education, and would also give us direction at the tertiary level. We must have education that can be analyzed, that can be applied, that can create new things. We must have people that have skills, even in vocational training, and also have the ability to read and write. And we must empower the young persons so that we can have anything called a sustainable future in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Once again, I'm Lukman Oyewole Lawal. I welcome you on board. You can join me on Facebook, Friends of LOL. You can join me on Facebook, Lukman Oyewole Lawal. You can join me on Instagram, lol.freshideas. We must change the conversation at the National Assembly. Once again, I'm a member of APC. I'm declaring my intention to run for the Senate of Lagos Central. I've been in the saddle for 7 years. I've not been opportune to face the electorate because they always ask me to step down. This time around, I want you all to speak up for me. I want you to sign signatures on my Facebook, on my Instagram, and let the leadership know that we have young Nigerians that have ideas, that have the passion to serve, that have a lot to offer their generation and their system. 20, 25 years ago, 27 years ago, people stood up for their generation. I recall being in the university. 5 political parties said Abacha or nobody. They adopted Abacha as the consensus candidate. Some individuals said, no, this is an aberration. They stood up for their generation. Today, I am standing up for my generation. I am not confronting anybody. I applaud everybody that have served us. They have done their best. But let the young and vibrant, prepared individuals also be able to represent at the highest level. And let us change the conversation at the National Assembly. Let us change the conversation in the Senate. Let us change the conversation in the House of Reps. We have had enough of slow and backward movements. We can do this together. Thank you.